And then we will close with the Lord's Prayer, which will be on the screen when we get to that point. Let us be in an attitude of prayer. Almighty God, you call our hearts to be still and to rest in your peace that passes all understanding. And today we give you thanks knowing that you are holy, that you are sovereign, that you are just, that you do not break your promises, but that you hold them fast. That when life seems chaotic and everything in life seems upside down, that you remain who you are. That you never fail. That you never give up. God, this morning we give you thanks, knowing that your steadfast love can be our anchor, our rock, and our refuge. That you truly can be our shield in times of trouble and strife. God, this morning we give you thanks for the many blessings that we know in our hearts and the ones we can't even fathom. God, we give you thanks for the arrival of new life in the form of Robert joining us on earth. God, we pray that you will continue to allow him to grow in strength and health, that he may know that he is loved, not just by a community and a family, but by his divine Creator. God, we ask for you to be with those this morning who are holding on to your steadfast love in the midst of chaos. For those who are grieving a human loss this morning, we ask for your peace and presence to be with them, especially for our sister Kay. God, for those who find themselves in health situations or health crises, we lift them up as well this morning, especially our sister Betty and our sister Angie. God, we lift up all those this morning who aren't with us in physical presence because they are sick, they're in an assisted living facility or a nursing home, or they're on travel because of spring break. God, we pray that your Spirit may be with them just as they are with us in spirit. God, you are a healer, even when we think we cannot be healed. God, you hold us in the palm of your hand. May you hold us now and hold our hearts and our minds and our entire lives as we pray the prayer you taught your disciples then and now to pray. Saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Picture, if you will, that you've tried out for a play, maybe titled Lazarus is Raised from the Dead. And so you've gotten this part, and so the first step is to do a little read-through. So that's what these readers are going to do. They have each the assign parts, and they've got their parts for the play, so their first step is to read through the reading. It just happens to be scripture.
A certain man, Lazarus, was ill. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and his sister Martha. This was the Mary who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sister sent word to Jesus saying,
Lord, the one whom you love. Well, that's Mary.
That's not how we'll read through.
Sorry, our scripts are not correct, so we'll read it together. Lord, the one whom you love is ill.
when he heard this, Jesus said,
This illness isn't fatal. It's for the glory of God, so that God's Son can be glorified through it.
Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. When he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed where he was. After 2 days, he said to his disciples,
Let's return to Judea again.
the disciples replied,
Rabbi, the Jewish opposition wants to stone you, but you want to go back?
Jesus answered,
Are there 12 hours in a day? Whoever walks in the day doesn't stumble because they see the light of the world. But whoever walks in the night does stumble because the light isn't in them.
he continued.
Our friend Lazarus is sleeping, but I'm going to order to wake him up.
The disciples said,
Lord, if he is sleeping, he will get well.
they thought Jesus meant that Lazarus was in a deep sleep, but Jesus had spoken about Lazarus' death. Jesus told them plainly,
Lazarus has died. For your sakes, I'm glad I wasn't there so that you can believe. Let's go to him.
then Thomas, the one called Didymus, said to the other disciples,
Let us go too, so that we may die with Jesus.
when Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was just a little than 2 miles from Jerusalem. Many Jews had come to comfort Martha and Mary after their brother's death. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, while Mary remained in the house. Martha said to Jesus,
Lord, if you had been there, my brother wouldn't have died. Even now I know that whatever you ask God, God will give you.
Jesus told her.
Your brother will rise again.
Martha replied.
I know that he will rise in the resurrection on the last day.
Jesus said to her,
I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will live, even though they die. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe it?
she replied,
Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, God's Son, the one who is coming into the world.
after she said this, she went and spoke privately to her sister Mary.
The teacher is here, and he's calling for you.
When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to Jesus. He hadn't entered the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were comforting Mary in the house saw her get up quickly and leave, they followed her. They assumed she was going to mourn at the tomb. When Mary arrived where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said,
Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died.
when Jesus saw her crying, the Jews who had come with her crying also, he was deeply disturbed and troubled. He asked.
Where did you leave him?
They replied.
Lord, come and see.
Jesus began to cry. The Jews said,
See how much he loved him.
but some of them said,
He healed the eyes of the man born blind. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?
Jesus was deeply disturbed again when he came to the tomb. There was a cave and a stone covered the entrance. Jesus said,
Remove the stone.
Martha, the sister of the dead man, said.
Lord, the smell will be awful. He's been dead 4 days.
Jesus replied,
Didn't I tell you that if you believe, you'll see God's glory?
so they removed the stone. Jesus looked up and said,
Father, thank you for hearing me. I know you always hear me. I say this for the benefit of the crowd standing here, so that they will believe that you sent me.
having said this, Jesus shouted with a loud voice.
Lazarus, come out!
The dead man came out, his feet bound, his hands tied, and his face covered with a cloth. Jesus said to them,
Untie him and let him go.
the end. Let's pray.
God, you are healer. Your healing power comes in different forms, at different times, and in different ways. But God, we know that you can heal us. God, you brought Lazarus back from the dead. You healed the hearts of Mary and Martha, and you revealed the glory of your kingdom to all of those around. God, may the kingdom resonate in our hearts. May healing come upon us today. That our wounds may be bound by your grace, that they may be healed by your love, and that we may be transformed more into your likeness. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, our rock and redeemer. Amen. This morning I want to tell you a story from my childhood. Because I'd forgotten about it, and then my parents came up yesterday and to see the kids and for us to do an Easter egg hunt and have some Easter stuff going on already. And one of the things that always happens with when a group of Huffs get together is we share stories of the past. And so we were sharing stories, and we were laughing hysterically at some of them, and some of them we were like, oh yeah, that happened. But one of the stories that wasn't shared, but after my parents left, I thought about having young children. I thought of the story of the slide and the cat. Now, we grew up having two cats. I had one and my sister had one. And I had he was beautiful. He was kind of a golden, tannish cat. He was a tomcat. And I called him Spanky. I don't remember what the name of my sister's cat was because it wasn't as important. Spanky was it. He was a friend. And so it was hot one summer afternoon, and we were home during school was over for the year. And so I asked my mom, can I go outside and play? She said, sure. Just stay in the backyard. I said, okay, I'll go on the swing set and the slide. Remember, I said it's really hot outside. And so I go up the steps of the ladder of the slide, and I get to the top. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go as fast as I can. And so I, 1, 2, 3, whoosh, down the slide to go. And I am at breakneck speed, about to break the sound barrier, and just whoosh. And what happens when you go up? You come down. And I did not understand that cats like to sit in the shade, especially at the bottom of a slide. And so my posterior went smack dab on Spanky. And I found out very quickly that cats have claws. And they know how to use them. And Spanky, being set on, began to destroy the side of my leg. I thought, this is it. I'm coming home, Jesus. I'm done. The pain was excruciating. The blood was coming through my pants. And I didn't know what was going on inside there, but I knew it wasn't good. And so as I get up off of Spanky, and Spanky runs off into the woods to kind of figure out what has gone on, I go running in the house, Mom, I'm dying. And she's like, what? And she runs in and she sees, and she can see a little bit of blood coming out from underneath my pant leg. And she goes, don't step on the carpet. I'm like, what? I'm dying. And she took off the pants and looked at the scratches, and there were quite a few, and some of them were deeper than others. And she began to clean the wound, and you're going to be okay, and being a good mom. And she put Band-Aids on the spots where I needed them. Some were bigger than others, but she cared for my wounds. became kind of a rite of passage, that I survived. I was on the edge of death's door, and I survived. Now I know that I was in no risk of dying. The cat wasn't a lion, it was just a little tomcat. But I'll never forget how when I ran in and I said, "Mom, I'm dying," she didn't freak out. She went, "What?" And then she cared for my wounds. Over the last few weeks, several weeks really, we have been exploring our journey on the wilderness. And the summit we're heading to is resurrection. And today I want to be very clear. Today I'm not talking about resurrection, because Lazarus wasn't resurrected. You see, Lazarus was brought back from the dead. He was alive again. But unfortunately, Lazarus is going to have to die again. He was healed, but he wasn't resurrected. And so today we're going to talk about healing. So I pulled out of our backpack some Band-Aids. Remember, we put them in there when we started this journey. And so this morning I want us to think about, where have we been trying to put Band-Aids on old wounds that aren't healing? Can we be healed? Can I be healed? Maybe it's a question you're asking. Can God really do this to me? If God knew me, He wouldn't heal me. It's been so long. There's no way. Sometimes we question whether or not God can heal us. In the story of Lazarus, Jesus receives word that his friend Lazarus is ill, that he's not doing well, that it doesn't look good. And Jesus waits. He waits 4 days after Lazarus' death before he is there. Surely, the people are thinking, there is nothing that he can do for Lazarus. Maybe he's come to console Mary and Martha and the people that loved and cared for Lazarus. But Jesus was there not just to care for Mary and Martha. He was there to do the impossible. Everyone said, "There's nothing you can do, Jesus. He's gone. It's been 4 days. The smell from the tomb, Jesus, is going to be horrific. Do not expose us to that." Jesus says, "Remove the stone." He calls out into the darkness of death, "Lazarus, come out." And to everyone's astonishment, they hear footsteps. They see a man who is bound in garments, and it does smell. But he walks out, and Jesus says, "Unbind him and let him go." There are 3 things from this story that I think are really important when we ask ourselves the question, can God heal me? Can God heal my wounds? Can God heal my marriage? Can God heal my community? Can God heal this world? There's 3 things from this story that I want us to pay attention to. The first thing is, it's not on our timeline. It's not. Jesus waits. Jesus didn't come rolling up in an ambulance. He didn't teleport so he could be right next to Lazarus as soon as he found out. He waited. That when we want healing, when we desire healing, that sometimes it doesn't happen on our timeline, but that it always happens on God's. That in the midst of waiting, there is actually healing happening. There's a processing. There's a binding of the wound in the waiting. The next thing that I want us to pay attention to is that it doesn't always look like what we think it's going to look like. Mary and Martha both go to Jesus as he's coming to the tomb. And what do they say? Jesus, if you had been here earlier, my brother would not have died. Now, there's the timeline, but there's also this assumption that if Jesus had shown up when Lazarus was ill, that he could have healed him when he was ill. Jesus, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Jesus heals Lazarus, but it's not in the way in which Mary and Martha and the community gathered there already mourning had assumed or expected or had fashioned in their minds. Sometimes healing looks different for each of us. Maybe you receive the news of an illness, a diagnosis. Maybe you hear that horrible word, cancer. And we ask for healing, or a loved one asks for healing. Praise to God, heal me, God. But maybe the healing that we expected doesn't arrive. Maybe our loved one doesn't become cancer-free. Maybe the cancer grows and our loved one passes. And we're left wondering, what kind of healing is that? But then we remember the words of Mary and Martha, where Jesus says, do you believe in the resurrection? And they say, yes, God. Yes, Lord. We believe in the resurrection on the last day. So they knew that even if things didn't go their way now, as they expected, that someday it was all going to be made right. In the last day, Jesus, there's going to be the resurrection. We believe it. We know it to be true. So sometimes healing of God's power does not happen on our timeline, but on God's. Sometimes the way in which we expect healing to happen isn't exactly how God works. And the last thing is the most important, is that you are worthy of healing. You're worthy of healing. Lazarus was one of Jesus' best friends. In the whole Gospels, this is the only person that Jesus weeps over. We don't hear about his dad dying. We don't hear about other things. We hear about Jesus weeping over Lazarus. And so it's kind of, okay, well, this is Jesus' best friend. Of course he's going to heal his best friend. But then we are reminded of the story in John 9 where Jesus healed the man who was born blind. That it doesn't matter whether you or someone that Jesus didn't even know, or you feel like you're completely distant from God, or whether you are best friends with Jesus. You are worthy of healing. this morning, maybe you wonder that question. You doubt. Can God heal me? I've had this wound so long, Pastor. Can God heal me? I've done so many bad things in my life, Pastor. Can God heal me? If you knew how deep this wound is, can God really heal me? And the answer every time is yes. That when we approach Jesus and we encounter Him, we can receive healing. It might not be on our timeline. It might not be in the way in which we expect it. But we know that we can receive healing in the name and in the power of Jesus Christ. This morning we have to ask ourselves the question, will we let Him? Will we let Jesus heal us? Will we go to Him with our wounds? Wounds that are fresh or that have been with us for a long time. And will we allow Him to carefully and tenderly bind our wounds and heal us? Anyone else will only be putting Band-Aids on a fatal wound. But we don't serve or worship just anyone. We serve and worship the only person who has ever called out into the darkness of death and say, "Come out." Whatever it is, that wound or that thing that you have been carrying and you have been wondering, God, can you really heal me? Today I am here to tell you, yes. Yes. God can heal you. You are worthy of healing. And you are loved. As we prepare our hearts for Holy Week starting next Sunday, as we approach the summit of resurrection, whatever it is that you are needing healing for, come to Jesus and allow Him to heal you so that you may be whole once again. Let's pray. God, we can use Band-Aids for cat scratches and paper cuts. But God, when it comes to the real wounds of life, nothing else will do but your healing presence. God, some of us have wounds in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls. God, some of us have wounds in our relationships. And God, it is evident that we have wounds in our community. God, help us to stop putting Band-Aids over them, thinking that that's going to fix the problem for now, and allow us to hand ourselves over to you so that you may truly heal us and set us free. God, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a health issue, whether that's an addiction, whether that is just wondering if you can truly love us for our past. God, we know that you are the healer. You're the only one who can call out to death and bring the dead alive. So God, this morning, whatever it is that we are needing healing for, God, may you be present with us, and may we surrender ourselves to and your healing power. It's in your name we pray. Amen. We know that God has healing power, not just because of the story of Lazarus, but we also know it from the cross. That Jesus was wounded and afflicted so that our wounds and our afflictions may not have the last say. That in his wounds we find healing. In his brokenness we are made whole again. And in his resurrection we may